Hey, how you doing everybody? Welcome back to Big Frog's 4x4. Today we're going to be installing the pop and lock on this 2018 Toyota Tacoma. Start by removing all of the screws in the tailgate cover. That's a T30 Torx bit. The screws are different. The large one goes up towards the top of the tailgate. The smaller ones go down towards the bottom of the tailgate. Next, slide the tailgate cover off the tailgate. Now you want to unclip the tailgate latch bar. Just gently push the plastic latch off and it unsnaps. And you lift the bar up out of the way. 10mm socket, 6-inch extension on a 3/8 ratchet. And take the 10mm bolt out for your tailgate handle. Now to install your pop and lock, it has a little tab that has to slide underneath the tailgate handle and a plastic little nipple right there that has to push up through the hole. And gently just lower that down into place, making sure that the slides of the pop and lock and everything line up properly. Then you want to put your 10mm bolt back in. It's underneath the edge of the pop and lock by my thumb there. You thread that down in. This is where you're going to need your 10mm wrench to snug that bolt up. Put your rod back in the hole and snap the clip back into place. Removing this plug for the camera is not too hard at all. You just pull these two little tabs right here off and it pulls out. Now you're supposed to run your wire up through here where your camera wire comes up through. There's this clip that your camera runs through. I drilled a 21/64 hole in this plastic clip for the camera wire. That way your pop and lock wire doesn't rub through here and you can still fish your pop and lock wire through the plastic so you don't have it rubbing on metal. I can show you a little better now that it's out of the truck. You see there's a little tab right here. Just pry that to the side. And that releases it off the wire. Alright, it mounts in the tailgate like this, so you want to fish your pop and lock wires through. Put one wire through first. And then you can fish the other wire through. Alright, once you have that run up through where the camera hole is, you just plug them together. So now that wire is run through there, you want to install it back on your camera wire. Snap it back together. And reinstall it back into the factory hole. I did forget to mention, you also have to do the same thing with the clip that's up here on the bed. Run your wires through it and then run them through the plastics clip that's down here on the tailgate as well. Alright, once you have that wire run through the back of the truck bed here, then you need to take your wire and fish it and zip tie it all along the factory wiring and then all the way up alongside the frame. And then you also need to come up over top of this frame rail cross member right here. Alright, once you have that fish past the frame rail that goes by your spare tire, that's when I'm going to plug the extension in, the other piece, like that, and it just pushes in and snaps into place. Alright, it's hard to get a tripod in here to record this, but you want to pop off your kick panel from over here, and it just pops off. And then gently pull up on your plastic panel here and that pops off. Then underneath your carpet, this snaps down into these rails. So you have to kind of pry this back a little bit right here and pop this out of this snap and then pry it back a little bit and pop it out of that snap, and then you can lift your carpet up. And you'll see underneath there where they have an amp research installed on this truck, and that's where they ran the wires up through for the amp research. That's where you want to run your wires for your pop and lock up through as well. You might be able to use a clothes hanger for this. I'm going to try this bicycle shifter cable first. I'm going to poke it down through the hole. If you don't have these wires already here, you're going to have to poke a small hole here and press it down through. But I'm going to try this first. I'm going to try to feed that then towards the front of the truck so I can tie my cables then onto it for the pop and lock and then pull them up through. Alright, you can see where my bicycle cable has come through. Like I said, you could probably do this with a coat hanger as well, but this is a little bit more stiff, but also more flexible. And what I'll do is then tape my wires on the end of this cable with electrical tape and then pull that up through the floor. Alright, we can just gently pull that up through. Well, obviously the grommet's going to pull up through, but gently pull that through the grommet. Then work that grommet down over top. And there are your wires up through. I don't like leaving grommets like this open to where water or something can come up through. If it goes through a deep water puddle of some kind and it gets in here and lays on this carpet, underneath the carpet and this matting, it's going to stay wet and make the truck stink. So once you get anything poked up through any grommet in your floor, make sure you seal that up with some RTV or silicone sealant or something. Also, I don't like any chances of this wiring slowly working its way back down through. So I always like to put zip ties around the wires, and that way there's less chance of it's going to poke down through. Now you see I put the zip ties on both sides of that hole, not beside each other. I put two on, and that way there's a lot less chance of that getting pulled or worked back down through that hole. As you can see, I basically filled an entire grommet with black RTV to seal from any water and stuff coming out. I spread it around as evenly as possible. Alright, the instructions have you tie into this wire right here on the driver's side kick panel. You want the blue and the black wires right here, and they're the two that you want to tap into. Alright, I'm going to tell you about a problem I ran into while installing this. Finding the correct two wires is pretty easy. It's this plug back here, right there, and the two wires. And they're easy to connect to. Just carefully trim this plastic shielding back, hook them up. But when I put these connectors on, and I've never been a big fan of these connectors, when I put these connectors on and I hit the lock button, the pop and lock still didn't work. So I went back to the tailgate, tested the voltage at the tailgate, and I didn't have any voltage at the tailgate on only one of the wires. So I thought, well, maybe there's a chance that I have the wrong wire. So I came up here and I tested it up here at the plug, and it worked. So then I knew that I had a connection issue. When I crimped these together, when I squeezed these together, that metal bar in there that makes connection didn't cut all the way through the insulation of the blue wire. So I had to pop it back apart, spread it apart, put the wire back in, and then squeeze it back together again to make a connection. So if you're having issues with the pop and lock not working, make sure that these cut into the factory wires correctly. I'm not a huge fan of these. I'd almost rather take these out, cut the wires, and solder and shrink tube them, or use a butt connector and splice into them. but this is what they send with the kit. So I'm going to use them. If he has any problems with these, I'll pull this cover back off and I will solder or use a butt connector in here if he has any further issues. All right, you want to make sure when you're putting this all back together that your carpet clips are pushed and locked back into place. And there's a hole up here at the front of your carpet. That tab there sticks through the carpet. You want to reinstall your kick panel. And this hole in the kick panel right here goes over top of that tab down there. All right, then you want to line up your snaps and stuff for this panel here, and then you can just gently push it down into place and it'll all lock in. You may have to just do some few tappings here and there and just make sure that locks down into place. Even following the instructions and wiring up the way they said, still not quite right. Hit the on lock button, it's locking the tailgate. Lock button unlocks the tailgate. So what you have to do is reverse the wires on the motor so it works in the opposite direction. Now before you tidy everything up and put it all back together, you want to make sure everything works with the remote. There's lock, unlock, lock, unlock. All right, now you can put your tailgate cover and everything back on. Remember to screw all these in loose and then go around and tighten them all down. You have to watch on the big ones that they have a shoulder here that have to sit down in the cutout here in the tailgate protector. And now you've seen the proper way to install the pop and lock in a 2018 Toyota Tacoma. As always, thanks for watching Big Frog's 4x4. Link in the description below if you want to purchase the pop and lock for these trucks. And as always, like, subscribe, and God bless.